And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren.
I'm Susan.
Welcome to Cross Timbers Farm and our 8th Day Chronicles channel. We're glad to have you with us here in the barn this fine winter day.
I was going to say this fine cold day. It's cold out here.
It is cold, but the weather, we're going into February 2023 and hopefully it doesn't come in like a what's the saying?
That's
I
March.
know, but if you apply
in like a lamb out like a lion.
Yeah. It is cold. The temperatures are just barely above freezing, and last night I think was down to about 18. But actually, the sun is out.
Yeah.
First time we've had sun, and I can't hardly tell you how long. It's just been January of 2023 was a rough month on a farm.
Yeah, I think really my favorite part of January 2023 was that couple of hours we had without rain.
Yeah. Yes. Anyhow,
True.
Thanks for being with us here on the farm today. What are we doing in here today?
So it is first weekend in February, and we are less than a month away from the start of our kidding season.
Kidding season.
Yay! So we have some things we need to do for our does. We will have each of the goats on the stand just a little bit and talk to you about what we do. At this point in their pregnancy, we start looking at changing up their nutritional needs. We give vaccines, CDT, selenium, copper. We check hooves. You certainly don't want to start kidding season and have a mama that needs her hooves trimmed. So.
And let me say one thing about that. This is something I don't know that we've really shown on film, but every day we feed our does, our dairy does, separately so the herd queen don't push everybody out of the feed and she gets it all. And we take turns rotating them, feeding them off the milk stand to get, number one, to get them used to the stand, number two, to get them comfortable with being up on this stand, and hands being rubbed on them and being, and all that. And every day when they're on the stand, at least once a week, at the minimum, sometimes every other day or sometimes every day, hoofs gets checked.
Yeah.
We check hoofs every week.
Yeah. This time of year, again, Darren talked about how wet it's been. Wet weather and hooves leads to foot rot and issues. So today, all the goats, including the boys, are going to get their hooves checked. They're going to get a CDT. We'll check their FOMACHA scores. The girls, except for Shadow, will be getting copper boluses and selenium. Then we're going to measure Lana and Mudslide's belly.
They're getting big.
They're getting big. They're within 3 weeks of their due date. Shadow is a little later, mid-April. She came to us later. And we'll talk about Shadow's health issues just a little bit once we get her in here. But yeah, today is prepping. It's, I guess, one of the final visits and checks before kidding season starts.
What would you call it? What's a human female pregnancy doctor?
An obstetrician.
Yeah, this is their final obstetrician date before kidding.
This is their big one. This is the big one. Yeah, we check. We will, as Darren said, they're on the stand, so we'll be checking things every day. We'll show you kind of how we start looking, what things we check for to see when labor is getting close to imminent, and so we'll start getting these girls in here and one by one and showing you what we need to do to them.
And one thing we do too is a doe that is pregnant and within a week, calendar week of her due date, we start kidding them. I'm sorry, not kidding.
We start stalling them.
We start stalling them separately, especially every night. And during the day, I'm usually around the farm somewhere.
Yeah.
So we leave them out. But if I'm going to be gone all day fishing or something, then they go back in during the day too.
We've had does that have kidded in the field before, and while we've not really had any issues with that, it's not really our preference. Our preference is that they do their kidding.
Not with our dairy does.
Especially this time of year, since there is that possibility of inclement weather. We
Yeah.
We do prefer them being a stall.
And I think too, when you stall a doe that is about to give birth into a private stall where she's in there alone with no other goats aggravating her, no stress, she has plenty of feed, plenty of hay, plenty of water, and she can just be relaxed. I think your outcome is, what was it Monty Walsh said in a old Western movie? Tom Selleck played a character named Monty Walsh, and he said you'll get a more harmonious outcome. That's what we're going to strive for. So.
Yeah, so we're going to start with Lana. So let's get Lana up here and we'll be right back with you.
Miss Lana's our first patient.
Okay, so this is Miss Lana. Lana is our herd boss, and she's kind of giving me a fit here because she doesn't have feet on there. So a goat gestation is about 5 months, 145 to 155 days, an average of 150. The things that we start looking for in late pregnancy, which Lana is about 3 weeks from her due date, we start watching her left side a little bit. I'm sorry, we'll start watching her right side. I'm on the wrong side of her and she's pushing me. We start checking her pin bones to start feeling as they get closer and closer to their due date, their pin bones will loosen up to make room for the baby to come out the birth canal. We check her udder. Be nice there. And we just, we kind of go by the way they act. If they're not acting right, they'll keep their tail up the closer they get to their kidding time. So goat gestation again is about 5 months, 145 to 155 days. And some things to look for are the looseness of their pin bones, just a general overall the way they're behaving, if they're still active, if they're laying a lot. You might notice that they kind of talk to their side a little bit and kind of gnaw at their side. They'll start pawing at the ground and lay down more. So things like that are what you need to be watching for. A good website to use for your gestation calculation is AmericanGoatSociety.com, and I'll put a link to that in the description. But we are looking forward to seeing what kids we get out of Lana. Today she's going to go ahead and get her CDT, her selenium, her copper, and get her hooves checked. So looking forward to babies out of Lana. Okay, now we have Mudslide on the stand. She's wanting her peppermint. We're going to talk about nutritional needs during the last few weeks of pregnancy with Miss Muddy. If some of you will remember early on when we got Mudslide, she had some intestinal parasites and had some weight gain issues. We got that resolved. But pregnancy is very hard on a goat's body, on any woman's body. It doesn't matter the species. So we need to increase her feed ration percentage. So that's all I have, sweetie. You really want to up their protein and calcium levels. And for us, what that means is adding a little extra alfalfa to their feed ration. And then, if Darren can join me from behind the camera, it also means that we start using the hay from our test plot. And I'm going to let him talk to you about that while I take care of her feet.
So during the pregnancy period, especially in the later gestation period, we really up the doe's type of feed into a more, what I would call a richer feed. And a lot of y'all have probably followed along on our small scale hay and equipment where we do a small test plot of hay every year in our pasture we have a little 0.2 of an acre lot that we work a lot with the dirt in that plot. We check pH levels and things of that nature, and we do a lot of seeding. We do a lot of chicken manure fertilizing and manure fertilizing and different things on that grass and legume to see what's really working and what's not. And We have a lot of legumes in that little test plot of hay, red clover. And red clover is really rich in calciums and good things that the pregnant doe needs. And when we baled that hay back in late September this past year, we have saved those 6 bales of hay. I think, well, we fed one.
I think we did when it was super cold back in
Yeah, we fed one, so we've got 5 mini round bales of that hay left, and we saved purposely for the last 20 days or so of gestation for our does, because it's really rich hay. It is top shelf hay. A little bit of tall fescue, not a lot, but it's mostly orchard grass and red clover. And it's got a lot of red clover in it. And that is really good for our pregnant does, to make their milk come in, to give them a good milk flow, for the development of that kid in the udder, or in the, what's it in?
It's in a uterus.
Uterus. I knew what I was trying to say, I just couldn't get it out.
The milk's in the udder,
Yeah.
kid's in the uterus.
But we saved that hay for that time of year, this time of year. We did this past year, and we probably will again this year. We'll get a couple of cuttings off that little test plot. And of course, we're taking what we learn in that test plot and we're applying it to our main pasture as well. So, but that little test plot is really rich in nutrients and things that hay needs to be prime hay. So Miss Mudslide and these goats really love that hay.
So Muddy will be 4 in about a month, and this will actually be her 3rd kidding. The farm we got her from had bred her as a very young doe, and she has had successfully raised twins every time. Last year she had a buck and a doe, and we're actually hoping she gives us a buck, because we bred her to Outlaw, who is now castrated. So this is a one-shot deal for his
offspring
to continue. Plus, getting a buck out of her gives us more breeding options in the future.
Yeah, we would. It's odd to hear a dairy farmer, especially goats or a meat goat or anything, hear a farmer say, "I hope I get a buck."
Yeah, but we are hoping to get a buck out of.
But we hope we get a buck out of Miss Mudslide here, because it will be a buck out of our purebred wind-kissed Indian Outlaw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he is a purebred. He can be traced back to those original purebreds that came from Switzerland.
You know, if people are wondering why we castrated such a rare animal, it was he was supposed to be castrated before we got him. And our deal with the breeder was that we would take both the bucks and castrate one.
Yeah.
And so we did as promised, and we got our one breeding out of him, and then took care of business for him.
Yeah, and it really calmed him down, because Outlaw had an attitude. Yeah. Even for a young buck, Outlaw, with his hormones, was borderline aggressive. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'd say he was aggressive. Yeah, he wasn't borderline. He was aggressive.
And even after having castrated him, he has still grown way more than we thought he would, and is probably stronger than Rodeo, who is still intact.
Yeah, so, we'll show you him in a little bit.
He definitely needed it. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that takes care of the nutritional needs of our goats, and we'll finish up with her and meet you back with the next goat. All right. So now we have Miss Shadow on the stand, and we're going to talk about some issues with pregnancy. Shadow will be 2 years old in March. This is her first kidding. She, as you can see, is very small for her age. We have done some zinc supplements through Multi-Men, and it's time to do it again. That's not really pregnancy related, but it can lead to pregnancy issues. We are getting ready to DNA test her to find out some more about her genetics for that. Waiting on ADGA. Waiting on ADGA. waiting on ADGA. Those of you who know what I mean. We're waiting on ADGA. But the biggest issue that we have seen with pregnancy is more prevalent in meat goats. It is pregnancy toxemia, ketosis, and it is dangerous. When you see signs and symptoms, you need to get your goat help quickly because it is an emergency. Your goat can die. It is an imbalance in nutritional needs. It leads to low blood sugar. They will need propylene glycol. They'll need magic, and quickly. One thing that we did have a goat last year that had toxemia, and we were able to reverse that in her, and she kidded 2 healthy bucklings. It seems to be more prevalent in meat goats. It seems to be more prevalent in at least our experience is first-time kidders and those who have larger bucklings. The bucklings just seem to pull something out of the mom. But again, it is just a nutritional imbalance, and it is caused by low blood sugar. Some symptoms and signs to watch for toxemia are a lack of appetite, having feed in front of them and not wanting to eat, laying around more than usual. Pregnant does the last few weeks are going to lay a lot, but I'm talking about just laying all the time, showing no interest in anything. The most imminent sign that you will be looking for is called stargazing. It's when your animal is just laying there staring blankly into space. They're very limp. They won't get up. They don't respond to you. That is the time you need to call your vet. Have your vet on speed dial. Your goat is going to die and I don't mean to sound like being, I don't know, a scaremonger, but if your pregnant doe mid to late gestation is stargazing, you need the vet ASAP. She has probably at that point become so anemic that she'll need a transfusion. But anyway, ways to prevent that are a healthy diet throughout pregnancy, increasing their intake of protein and calcium toward the end of their pregnancy, and making sure they stay hydrated. One way to make sure that your goat is getting proper nutrition is, as Darren alluded to earlier, by mid gestation, we start feeding our does separate. They all have their own feed pan. No one is fighting for feed. And you can also monitor what they're eating a little closer if you start to see an animal that starts to look anemic or thin or those types of things. So, Shadow, you are a very calm and sweet girl. Okay, next on the stand we have Stormy. Stormy will be a year old in about a month, and she is not bred. We choose to wait until the second breeding season to breed our does. We just think that they make better mamas. It gives them more time to grow and take care of their own needs before they have to start supporting a baby. So, even though she's not pregnant, she's still going to get her CDT, selenium, and copper bolus. And we're going to do selenium gel today. Selenium gel and vitamin E you can pick this up at any farm supply store, Amazon. I think this one probably came from Amazon. Selenium is a mineral that is not found in the soil in most regions of the United States. Is that good? That's the wrong end. It is very vital to the overall health of goats and sheep, pigs, cattle. A deficiency in selenium leads to what is called white muscle disease or floppy kid disease. It's basically just a deterioration of their muscles. Signs and symptoms of that would just be almost like the toxemia would be. It's just a lack of appetite. They can't maintain their body temperature. They get to where they can't move. Their hair falls out. So we give selenium gel with vitamin E. The vitamin E helps with the absorption of it. You can also do an injection called Bozy. That is available by prescription only through your vet. We choose just to do the selenium gel just because we also do a mineral block, and we've not had any issues with selenium deficiency doing this. If we begin to see an issue, then of course we'll switch to the Bosey, but per our vet's recommendation, as long as they've got that mineral block, they've got a balanced goat ration feed that they're doing, they're probably absorbing enough selenium that way with the gel a few times a year that they don't need the Bosey. So anyway, the selenium gel is given, you give 2 mLs for kids under a year old. So Stormy is almost a year old, so I'm going to go ahead and give her an adult dose. An adult dose is 4 ml. And this is butterscotch flavor, and most of the time your animals really, really like it. I can get it to come up here. Yeah, let's see. I don't know if that'll cooperate with me. There we go. Here you go, sweet girl. Is it good? Here, let's just do it this way. There we go. Now she likes it. So that is selenium, and why we give selenium to our goats, especially our pregnant goats. Our kids will get it the same day they get disbudded. They'll also get a CDT that day, but that's selenium and Stormy. Okay, now I have my stinky wing-kissed rodeo on the stand. He is our herd sire, and he is, today we're going to give him a CDT. A couple of weeks ago I gave him multi-min, so he's not going to get anything else. You can see how his color has faded. That's a sign of copper deficiency. So I went ahead and gave him a multi-min because he does have some dry spots on his head too. Breeding season is really hard on your bucks. It really is. But today he's going to get his CDT. CDT is, he really still smells horrible. Is Clostridium C and D, and this is a toxin that is found in the soil that can cause overeating and bloating, and can be fatal to goats, and tetanus, so hence CDT. So today he's getting his CDT. We give CDTs once a year. We give it to our pregnant does in the last month of gestation. It helps pass some immunity through the colostrum onto the kids. The kids will then get a dose the day that they get disbudded, and then they'll get their final booster dose at about 6 weeks later. So today, all we're doing for this little fella is CDT. CDT is really easy. It is 2 milliliters across the board, every goat, every age, every size. It's not weight-based, it's not age-based, it's just simply 2 ml for everyone. What I like to do with this, I like to use a 20 gauge needle because this is not very viscous. For the boys, I use a 3/4 inch long needle because they do tend to have a little more skin that you can get into. I use a 1/2 inch on the girls and the kids. So to give a sub-Q vaccine on a goat, you have a few areas that you can give it to, and I'll put a picture of this on here. I like to give it, you can give it behind the shoulder, in front of the shoulder, somewhere. Be careful around the neck. So I'm just gonna grab a flap of skin, and you wanna go downward at an angle and pull up to make sure there's no blood, but it don't hurt that bad. And then rub your spot so that it doesn't pull up. The CDT can cause a bit of a sore on their skin, so you just wanna rub it, kind of watch it for a day or two and make sure that they don't develop like a canker sore. You're a handful and you stink. So that's CDT, 2 milliliters, every goat, every age, every size, once a year, except for kids. They're given CDT the day they're disbudded. If it's a meat goat or you're not disbudding your dairy goats, you'll give it to them about 4 weeks of age, and then again a booster in about 4 weeks. We like to give it to our pregnant does the last month of pregnancy, of gestation, to pass some of that immunity through their colostrum to their kids. Okay, good boy. And that is Windkiss Rodeo.
You'll notice he is naturally cold.
Oh, I did forget to mention that. Yeah, he's got some stuff going on there right now. He and Mr. Outlaw like to headbutt. Okay. On the stand for the final drag this afternoon is Windkissed Indian Outlaw. He is a purebred Oberhasli, and he is bred to mudslide. He is also now weathered. He is stronger than an ox, and his grandsire was ginormous. Our deal with the breeder was that we would use him for one breeding and then have him weathered. So he is our weathered pasture pal. He's actually very, very sweet, but he needs some copper. So a good way to tell copper deficiency in Oberhaslis is that beautiful mahogany color starts to turn yellowish blonde. Some goats, some Oberhaslis like Lana, have a lighter color coat anyway, but that's the easiest way to tell in your Oberhaslis is that they start to turn blonde. Another way to tell that your goat is copper deficient is their tail. If their tail starts to look, it's called fishtailing, if it starts to look splayed and not uniform like his is, his tail actually looks really good, then you would know that they are copper deficient. But the way I know he needs copper is just that his mahogany color has really turned blonde on him. So again, copper is based on age, and it's a nice little beard you have. Kids under a year old get 2 milligram capsules of copper, and over a year old get 4 milligram of copper. You can give copper every few months. We tend to do it about twice a year unless they really start to look pale, and then we'll go ahead and do it another time throughout the year. Symptoms, let's see, I guess that's really all the symptoms, but copper deficiency is another contributor of anemia in goats, and left untreated can cause death. So everything that we're treating for today can be life-threatening if left untreated. Isn't this wonderful? Look at this male goat who's supposed to be so aggressive, being such a sweet, friendly boy. But to give a copper capsule, you use a bolus gun, and I'm actually going to let Darren do this because he's a little better than I am. I'm going to get it loaded for him. We load them with peanut butter. You just need something to kind of hold it in the gun while you're getting it to the back. Oh, it's done loaded. Never mind, Darren's already loaded it for me. Or I should say for him, because he and I are going to switch spots and he's going to show you how to do this. Okay, as promised, we're going to measure bellies. This is Lana. We're going to see how big her belly is.
Hey, Miss Lana.
We'll measure at the widest point.
Okay, I've got this end.
Okay.
I'm not going to pull tight. 47.5.
Okay, if you'll write that down, we'll kind of keep a measurement of them as we go closer into our due date. Okay, next we have Mudslide. This will be Mudslide's third kidding. They tend not to get quite as big the more pregnancies they have. So we're just going to measure around her widest point. Whoops, I dropped it. Thank you. Takes 2 for this one, for both of them. All right. And she's about 45.5.
About the same. About the same as
Oops,
Lana.
wait, here. You got to get on the widest point.
Yeah, about 45 and a half, same as Lana.
Lionel's 47.
Oh, Lana is a bigger goat. Okay, let me make sure that this is in the widest spot. Right there. 46.
Okay, 46.
46 inches.
Now, her ligaments are pretty loose right here. Again, they're going to get looser the more pregnancies they have. But we'll see, these two girls were bred actually on the same day. So it'll be interesting to see who kids first and who has the most kids, or maybe they'll both have two. And boys and girls, we'll see. Put your comments below and tell us how many you think each goat's going to have, and if you think we're going to have little doelings or little bucklings, and we're wanting a buckling out of this one. So.
Okay, I think we're done for today with our dairy goat herd.
We are finished. We are getting ready to enter our busy time with kidding season upon us, and then milking season, and then haying season. But
yeah, spring's quickly approaching.
Today
I, for one, am glad.
Today was a nice sunny day to be out here. Still cold, but a good day to be out here. And again, we just are starting to get our herd ready for kidding season. Everyone got their annual CDTs. Those who needed selenium, copper, got those today. We checked for matcha scores and trimmed hooves. So. Oh, and we measured bellies. That was the fun part.
And I was a little surprised that Muddy's belly was as close to Lana's as it was, because Lana's naturally a stockier, bigger barrel.
She has an industrial look, and Muddy has a dairy look, which Lana will probably start having that more dairy look after she kids.
Will, after kidding and milking, and she'll get that more dairy look to her.
Yeah.
A lot of folks see the hip bones, the back hip bones sticking up, and the pin bones on a dairy goat.
Yeah, that's sunken inside.
And they think that goat's malnourished. You need to be feeding that goat more. That's the normal look. Have you ever noticed how Jersey cows and Guernsey cows that's being milked regularly, they have the same look in the back, that bone structure. It's just part of the dairy. But Lana doesn't really have that yet, but she will.
She will.
She'll start developing that look because she's being milked.
So stay tuned. We'll see if we have how many they have, how closely together that they kid, because they were bred the same day, and Lana's a first-time kidder.
Yeah.
Muddy's an old pro at it. So
we're coming up on a busy season. We got in 20 days roughly. We're going to start kidding season. We'll bring you along for some of that. That's a really fun time on the farm.
Very exciting.
Having those baby kids and them running around in the barn here and jumping and doing acrobats, and it's a fun time, the kidding season.
And then really just to see that natural bonding between mom and baby is
the natural world at work.
Yeah.
Then we're going to start on our hay fields and start prepping and doing weed control, and it's before you know it, it'll be the end of May, and we'll be cutting hay, and it's getting ready to be a busy season.
Busy season, but a good season.
Absolutely.
It's a life we love. So thank you for being with us today. And if you have any questions or comments, again, comment below and let us know how many kids you think each girl's going to have. And we sure appreciate you being with us today. And just remember, your farm, your animals are a blessing, and you should be good stewards of what you've been blessed with.
God bless, and have a good evening.